Okay, fifth grade, I want you to go back now to the top of page 18 where it says look for a pattern. You'll see that big chart, and you'll see the big chart here on the board. I do not need you to copy for once. Yay, Ms. Sharber has a sheet for you. So you're going to take out this tool sheet, and you're going to copy along with me. So have this sheet out, okay? All right, I'm going to put the answers on the board. You can put them in your teaching tool sheet. Okay, so this is the big picture of what we were just looking at, looking for patterns. This was the same thing. So when we have, you can choose fifth grade if you want to fill out the pattern going from left to right, or if you want to fill the pattern from going up to down, you can choose. I'm going to start with what I feel is a little easier. Let's start from left to right. Let's start with the first row. Remember rows left to right? And we said that when we did that, we had to add 100ths. So you'll see here what we already had. This is 100ths. What comes next? 200ths. Good. What comes next? 300ths. Good. So we're adding 100ths each time. What would come next after 300ths? Yes, 400ths. What would come after 400ths? Keep counting. Yes, 500ths. What would come after 500ths? Yes, 600ths. And keep going. Next would be 700ths. They gave us 800ths, so it looks like we're on task and we're doing things correctly. Now we will have 900ths. Now fifth grade, just like we do when we get to 9 ones, after you get to 9 ones, you need to change place value, so you move up to 10. That's where you see here, after 900ths, we move to 1 what? 10th. Good job. Okay, let's go to our next row. We're going to see here we have empty spots, and they gave us 15, 16, and 19. Now, there's a couple ways we could do this. We could work backwards and find the numbers before, or we could go back to our first rule of when we go and use our vertical columns. When we move down, the tenths increase by 1. So we could go here and find our tenths space and add 1. What would be 0 plus 1? Yes, 1. So you would put here 1, and we said that number, the hundredths place, stayed the same. If you're wondering where I'm getting that from, remember, go back to your beginning notes with the pattern that we saw. Okay, so now I have 11 what? Yes, 11 hundredths. What comes after now if we want to fill in the rest? The pattern was we add 100ths. So what's 11 plus 100ths? Yes, 12 hundredths. Then we would have what? 13 hundredths. Good. Keep with me. What would be next? 14 hundredths. Good. And then you will see they already gave us 15 hundredths and 16 hundredths. So I must be still on track. What would come after 16? Yes, 17. What would come after 17? Yes, 18. Good job. Keep up and keep your numbers in your chart. What would come after 19? This is where we switch. Now we would go up to what? Does anybody know? Anybody know? What goes next? 19 would go to what? Miss Bennett, do you know?
I hope it's 20 hundredths.
Okay, here we go. After we do that row.
Thousandths. My bad.
We'll fix it. We'll fix it. Let's see if we can get to that. Okay? Let's go back and then see if it matches up. And I want to leave it there because I want you guys to see sometimes where we make mistakes, how we can come back to it. I love doing that. Okay, here we go. I don't have anything from left to right till we get all the way down here. Now again, I could work backwards, or I could go back and use my rule for the vertical columns of adding another tenth to this. What's 1 plus 1/10? Yes, we're going to get 2 tenths, and our hundredths place stays the same. Let's finish up this last one while we're going and adding 1/10. What would be 2 plus 1/10? Yes, we would have 31 hundredths. And then we can work and fill our way to the right. You need to stop tape? Okay, so what's after 21? 22 hundredths. What's after 22 hundredths? 23 hundredths. What's after 23 hundredths? 24 hundredths. Okay, I'm gonna take
I know that sometimes we get the hundreds and the thousands mixed up in our head, so we have to really write it down to pay attention to what we're saying.
Absolutely. So keep track, keep counting, make sure your numbers make sense. Okay, after 24 hundredths would become what? 25 hundredths. After 25 hundredths would come 20 what? Yes, 26 hundredths. After 26 hundredths, 27 hundredths. How am I on time?
You're good. You're
After
good.
2700ths, we have 2800ths. After 2800ths, we would have 20 what? 2900ths.
And then 30.
And then we would have 30 hundredths. All right, fifth grade, keep up with the chart or pause for a second, make sure your numbers are filled in, or if you're not getting something, give me a question. Write it down now. Okay, now otherwise then we're on our last, what is this called from left to right? Yes, our last row. And it started for us 3100ths, 3200ths.
33, 35, 36, 38, and 40 hundredths.
Ooh, go Miss Bennett. Let's
Well,
fill it in.
just
You
gotta,
got it.
I have to think. It's early in the morning.
And we fill in the rest. Okay, fifth grade. Again, just check your patterns here. This one we know every time the hundredth spot went up by 1. Every time it went up, so you know you're on track. And then this time, let's check the other row. We know our first column was done right. Let's check our second column where we know the tenths have to each go up by 1. Did they each go up by 1? We have 0, 1, 2, and 3. So we are on task, and that's the pattern we see to complete this chart.